This is the fourth episode of the Leadership Lens Beyond Titles. So this is the podcast, and I just list out the objective of the podcast, and then we will deep dive to the into the topic. See, the primary objective of this podcast is to create a platform where leadership insights meet practical HR strategies. It seeks to empower leaders, HR professionals, entrepreneurs, and aspiring managers with perspective that help them lead with purpose rather than position, align with people strategy with business outcomes, build resilient, high performing teams, navigate complexity with clarity and confidence. So today we have an amazing guest with us. She is Dr. Rachana Mittal. She heads HR at Set and Lucas, and she does have more than 20 years of work experience, and we are really very proud and happy to have her in our midst. So just about Rachana. So, hello, Bonita. Sorry, I'll just replay it. Very sorry. Yes. Good evening, Rachana. Am I audible?
Yes, very much.
That's really great. Sorry for the initial glitch. I was not aware of it. Great. So we'll start. We'll deep dive into the topic because I think we do have. I know about you. So I think my 1 hour might be very short span to for you to elucidate more about the topic. So let's deep dive into the topic. So I just want to know, please share your professional journey with us. And the first question, which I would like to start, is that what is culture according to you? What does culture by design really mean in practice? And how is it different from culture that evolves organically?
Thank you. Thank you. First, let me thank Safa and HR, Mr. Arun and William for having me on this show. And I think there are three questions. So let me just start, part by part. My professional journey started in, 2003. I've been MBA in marketing and finance. And in my journey, I started with investment banking operations. So I was like the proof of concept where, people started migrating operations to India. So I was part of investment banking operations in London. We moved, and it was a very special feeling where, we were the proof of concept. The first investment banking operations was moved by me and my team, and only if we are successful, the other operations will move. So it was kind of a double-edged sword where people in London are looking at you taking my jobs, and people in India are waiting for me to get jobs. So, that is where my journey started. And I was being in reconciliations, investigations, and slowly I thought maybe operations is something which I want to move out of. And then I moved to business administration, where it was a very, very interesting journey. It was the first business continuity plan, which was, made. There were no BCP documents during those days. Creating the information security, documents, being part of the first audit, doing the internal branding for investment banking operations, being part of the strategy meets, looking at the cost center because your operations. So it is very fascinating for me to learn the whole gamut of things, and being part of such a team was very interesting for me. And then I moved to L&D, where I did assessment centers for first time managers. So that became very interesting for me, where that is where my whole coaching and training and mentorship journey began, where first time managers, we took them through assessment centers, and certain people were good and certain people needed some polishing. So I spent, there was a whole curriculum prepared for them, and they were going through some assessment centers and training, and then a post assessment. So, it was very fulfilling to see the transformation of some of the managers. So,
Nice.
and from there, I moved to be an HR generalist, and wow, that's a different space. I know, a lot of HR people understand, where I learned how to say what is right.
Okay.
Because
Nice.
HR generalists have, they need to show the mirror sometimes.
Yes, I understand.
So that was first time I think I started sharing what I think is right. And yeah, then you need to agree with the business leaders, and business leaders need to agree with you. That's a negotiation journey.
Challenging. Yeah.
Then from there, my boss had moved to another company. She asked me to come and join, and I led, the L&D of Chennai team for one of the banks in operations, which was a technological vertical.
Great.
So I have been working with different cultures. If I say I've worked with an European culture, where from London to Amsterdam, the culture is very different. I worked with an American organization. So that way, when I didn't decide on the topic, and I don't know how you came up with this topic, but that is something which is very relating to what I do. So, that is my journey. And the question on what is culture. So if we go back and try to look at where did the word culture came from, it actually came from agriculture.
Rachana is having some podcast sort of something.
Uh, Someone has to go on mute, I think. Yeah, sorry on that. So so culture came from agriculture, where it means to grow. So culture is something which can enable you to grow, or it might block your growth. So that is what culture is.
Culture is.
So I would, like you saw in my introduction also, we want to create a culture where we help people to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that if we go to the next question, I think the third part of the question was,
Just want to know how is it different from culture that evolves organic?
okay. So culture by design is very, very important. So if you see the large organizations who have really stayed, be it, if I have to take some examples, when we talk about trust, the one company which comes to everyone's mind in India is Tata.
Yes, I was about to tell that. I was about
I
to tell.
don't think anyone will think about another company. First company which anyone will, get is Tata, and that
Tata,
is the
right.
culture Jamshedji Tata formed, started.
Yes.
And a lot of things which happen in manufacturing industries, be it 9-hour work, having women on the workfloor, was all started by, Tatas. And then if we think about the culture of innovation, 3M.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
most number of, I think, patents is there with 3M.
Yeah. You're right.
And when we talk about something which has to be done for 140 crore Indian people,
Yes.
the name is Reliance.
Yes.
So it brings a culture of, magnitude.
Yes.
Volume.
Very big. Yes.
Very big, very big. So if I go to, Reliance and say, oh, I have some idea which is for only 100 people, but each one will give you 1 crore profit, I'm sure they're not going to be interested.
Yes.
They're not wanting to, like small numbers. They look at big numbers.
Yes.
So the same way and the companies which have created a culture and maintained it have survived. So that is culture by design. And culture, yes, when you start small, you think it's the owner's culture which is there, which is an organically what the belief
Yes.
system is there in startups when we say. But when that is not being documented, not being, spoken about, not being, practiced, then it can get into chaos. And then, the organization's growth is somewhere lost. So
Yes.
organically, maybe culture comes, but if you see most of the bigger organizations in the world have a culture which is defined and everyone in the organization aligns with the culture.
Great. So my next question will be, why do many organizations struggle to build intentional workplace culture despite having clear values on paper?
So values on paper somewhere is like strategy. And if I have to say, strategy eats, the culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
And as HR, we all know that. So culture is something which is there for the long term.
Okay.
And strategy is for, I wouldn't say short term, but it is something which has to be built on culture.
Okay.
And if these two are not aligned and try to work on in silos, it will be a destruction.
Okay.
So the culture says be, employee friendly, and the strategy says, 12 hours of work every employee has to put in.
Okay.
Then there is like no alignment.
Great. I understand.
So culture and strategy, unless there is an alignment, it's not possible for an organization, to grow. So that is where I think culture and strategy have to go hand in hand. And if that does not happen, it's very difficult for the employees to sustain, and they can feel lost.
Great. I understand. Great. My next question to you will be, how can leaders ensure that company values are not just statements, but actually reflect in everyday behaviors and decisions?
I think leaders have the most important role in demonstrating culture. So leadership is not by instruction, leadership has to be by demonstration.
Okay.
And leaders need to be open to be vulnerable when, if they are going out of alignment, and if there is someone coming and sharing that this is not in alignment with our culture, they need to be ready to accept that.
Great. Okay.
So leadership role is keep insisting. And culture is not easy sometimes, and when there is pressure, the first thing which can go to the back seat is culture.
Yes, you're right.
So how leaders demonstrate their leadership and move ahead with the culture which they are trying to build for the organization is what will define culture. So there is one example which when I talk about this is Tata had taken over, was Docomo was in Tata partnership, the cell phone. And so they had
Tata Docomo.
Tata Docomo. So Docomo was, I think, Japanese company which had a tie-up with, Tata, and the contract was such a way that when the contract ends, Tata is supposed to pay some millions of dollars to Docomo. And by the time that happened, the whole industry was not doing good. And if Tata had not paid, and the court had, the matter went to court, and the court told, now looking at the share value and things, Tata doesn't have to really pay Docomo. But being Tata's value, we have signed an agreement and we have agreed that we will pay this, and they paid. Though there were board members who were not in alignment with this, they were against this. But Tata came back and told, no, this is what we agreed, and that is our value system. That is the culture we are known for, and we want to maintain and keep, and we will stick to it. So during tough times, staying and sticking to the culture is what will make the culture grow. And we all know the story of the Taj Mumbai hotel, what happened
During 2611.
during 2611. Like, that's a beautiful example of what values, like, even this, yeah, I would any employee didn't leave, whether it be the most senior employee to the most junior employee. No one thought of leaving the hotel, but everyone thought of only one thing: was how can we make sure the guest who is there, how can it
Classic.
make it safe? So I think that is the even the toughest time leaders show what they stand for is culture.
That's really very well said. Really nice. So my next question will be, how should organization measure culture? And are there specific metrics or indicators that truly matter?
Culture is something which is, if I have to be very honest, difficult to measure. It's not
Okay.
like, I can put it on a
Paper.
measuring scale,
You can't. Yeah.
paper.
You can't
But
have it by KRA.
if you do anything which is not measured is not valued in today's system.
Okay.
So culture, yeah, it's a feeling to some extent, but when we align culture to the metrics which are there, okay, we have the culture of honesty. Maybe in one business we didn't do well, but because of this, there are so many more partners who want to align with us.
Okay.
That is, the measure which we come. So
Got it.
culture needs to be aligned to the output of the organization, though it's like, if I have to say, it's like a brand.
Okay.
So, we give a value for brand, but if you see monetarily, is there something? Only once you create it comes. That is the way culture is. Culture, though not directly linked to the KPIs, but because we have a culture. So if we have a culture of client first, then whenever there is a client meeting, we make sure it's a special interaction with them. It's a special, something special for them. And that results into turning that client into our customer.
Great.
So it is, if I have to say, because of culture, did I get 10% extra revenue? That
Yes.
measurement is going to be difficult, but culture has a very, very, inherent part of the bottom line in an organization. Because once you are known for, anyone is ready to work with Tata. Tell me if there
Yes.
is, if any company, and Tata approaches any company, they will not say, I don't want to work with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is the output and measurement of culture.
And it will also help you for retention, right?
Yes. So retention, if I say from an employee perspective, the people who align with the culture will stick to the organization. People who are not able to align with the culture cannot stay in the organization for long. They will, they will find it difficult. They will not be able to perform. And even if they're performing, their performance, they feel they are not being recognized. So aligning with the culture is very important. So if there is someone who believes in speed, and they are sitting in with Tata, and they're sitting on a project which is taking time, they will not be able to align. They will not be able to be in that department. They will move out. It's not like Tata's culture is not good, but I am not able to work. So retention in a culture, if you're able to retain people, that means they are in alignment with your culture.
Okay.
And people who are not aligning, it is best for them and the organization that they leave earlier than later. Because everyone has every organization has a different culture. And I have seen people moving, from a similar industry, maybe moving from one bank to another bank, where, the processes are almost the same.
Same. Yes.
But they're
Only the
not
name is
able
changed.
to, yeah, but they're not able to,
Cope up.
cope up, because the culture is different. So if someone from SBI, joins Standard Chartered, or, HSBC, I don't know how it will be for them. It's not that there have not been success stories, but they need to align with the culture of the new organization for them to be able to grow. So from an employee perspective, that is very important that you align with the culture of the organization if you want to grow. And if you're not able to align, it is better you leave earlier than sitting there and cribbing.
That's very well said. I think you'll be the right person for me to ask the next question because you started your career in banks. So what is the role of culture in an M&A, and what has been your experience with different global cultures?
M&A is a very interesting space. So in certain because we do a lot of mergers and acquisition. So M&A cannot be based only on balance sheets.
Okay.
Because that's the first thing people see when they want to get into a merger and an acquisition. Let me tell you a small, story which I have been a part of. So there were two companies, huge companies, which got merged, and on paper it was a perfect marriage, if I have to say.
Okay. Okay.
Financially, it made whole lot of sense for these two, companies to merge, come together. However, as soon as that happened, things started falling apart.
Okay.
So there was one company which was very relationship focused.
Okay.
The other was aggressive and deal focused.
Okay.
One thought about long-term thinking, other thought about short-term performance and focus.
Okay.
One was collaborative decision making and the other was highly target oriented.
Great.
And when the leaders of these two companies sit in a meeting, they're talking about two different things.
Okay.
Totally different things. So both are good, both were revenue making. We have to see from outside, everything was perfect. But believe me, the merger collapsed.
Okay.
It was because of culture, leaders, great strategies, great numbers on paper. But because the cultures didn't align,
Okay.
it took a long, long time for them to recover from the whole merger.
Okay.
And sustain back. So that was something which, when I was even thinking about culture and M&A, that is one example of culture really falling. And I also have another example where we were part of a M&A deal and we helped a client acquire another company. And
Okay.
from the company which was acquired, it was not a
Okay.
merger, it's an acquisition. So
Okay.
it's a very different feeling when you get merged and acquired. It feels like I own you type. Sometimes organizations can make you feel that. So when it got acquired, the culture was so aligned between these two founders that the CEO of the company which was acquired took over the CEO position of the company which had acquired.
Okay.
So it was a perfect alignment, and the leadership just was so smoothly which blended in. And a lot of times when I have conversations with leaders who are thinking of mergers or acquisitions, I ask them their story. What is their story? What is the culture they feel they align to? Because it's what looks perfect on paper might not be perfect in reality. So in an M&A, it's very important that the leaders, when they sit across the table to talk about the deal, they also understand, because people are going to run the business. Financial sheets are created by business. Financial sheets don't run business.
Yeah. Right.
So from that perspective, it is very important when I have conversations with, people who are looking at whatever from an investment banking perspective, what is support, what is it that they feel is the culture of their organization? What is it that they want to communicate to their employees and to the world? That will help them. And if they stick to it, maybe sometimes it is a delayed. I'm not going to say that, oh, this was the fastest thing to do. Why did you leave it? It can be the fastest thing, but it might not be the right thing.
Great. That's very well said. So the next question is a very interesting question I would like to ask. So how do hiring and onboarding process influence the long-term culture of the organization?
I think in brief, I have covered. So sometimes I have seen very, very bright candidates not
Okay.
being hired. And maybe they are the perfect people for the role. They're not being hired because of the attitude they bring in on the table.
Okay.
Because the hiring managers should understand that will this person fit into the culture of my organization?
Hmm.
And if it is a misfit, I'm telling you, they will not stay for long.
Okay.
And if they stay, it's not good for the organization, I should say. If they
Okay.
stay and don't align.
Got it. Great.
So from a hiring and onboarding perspective, and during onboarding, it's the role of not only we think onboarding is HR team.
Yeah.
HR is just I think they process the onboarding of the people, but it is the managers, the senior managers, the leaders, communicating the culture. And the best way to communicate culture is through stories. There
Okay.
is no other way. And the super example for that, which I can think of, is Infosys.
Okay.
Infosys have so many stories about, what they want to build in. Like, I think Infosys wanted everyone to be the same. So I remember Infosys, in one of the interviews, it was shared that, Infosys gave in shares to all its employees when they had started, and Infosys, Mr. Narayan Murthy's driver had enough shares, and when Infosys went up, so Narayan Murthy had asked him to stop in a bank, and he went inside the bank to for some work, and Narayan Murthy's driver went to the ATM. So when he came out and he asked, his driver that you could have also come to the bank, they would have given you the cash. He told the ATM machine will treat you and me the same way.
That's very well
It'll
said.
ask you the same question and ask me the same question.
Yes.
It will not ask me to just sign the check and fill the other details by someone else.
Rather, he's willing to go to the ATM.
ATM. So ATM is like the perfect example of standardization. Whoever goes,
Yes.
it's the same question. There cannot be
Right.
another third question by the ATM machine. So,
Exactly.
bringing in equality, there are a lot of stories where Infosys, Mr. Narayan Murthy and Sudha Murthy, and from there she became a story writer, and now we know how many books Sudha Murthy ma'am has, written. So Infosys is a very good example of stories, like her own story of, starting from Tata Group. That made a lot of impact even on Tata Group.
Yeah.
So the stories, when it is shared, that became, and I am sure after Sudha Murthy, there were a lot more women who were hired in Tata, but no one has spoken about being hired in Tata Group.
Yeah.
Only one person whom we remember is
Yes.
Sudha Murthy ma'am.
Yes.
So
That's
that is the impact of storytelling, and so managers, leaders have to keep repeating the stories which they link to their culture for it to see. Defining a culture is easy, but sustaining a culture is what is the difficult part.
got it. Got it. Very interesting. Very well said. So my next question will be, just want to know in hybrid or remote work environment, what are the biggest challenges in maintaining a strong intentional culture?
Um, See, hybrid, I know a lot of going hybrid for a lot of reasons. The one I see only one challenge which is there is it can be slow.
Okay.
Because there are it's not like you're sitting on a cup of coffee and talking about culture, and in Zoom meetings you don't talk about culture because you have an agenda,
Yes.
you need to finish it, you're not having a
Yes.
cup of coffee.
Got it.
So I don't think that it is not possible
Okay.
for people to have culture, like a lot of global organizations are moving to remote and hybrid workplace because that is the norm next. Only thing is, like having those conversations beyond work.
Okay.
And I think also what plays there is the belief system and values of the organization. So if the organization culture is being on time,
Okay.
and that is being lived up every time, then everyone knows that this is what has to be followed, this is the norm. So for culture to in a hybrid space, I would say values and culture have to be integrated very well and communicated. Like respect is one of the, a lot of organizations have culture which
Yes.
thinks of respect. So how do you think you respect a person when you tell a Zoom meeting is at 7 o'clock and log in at 7:30?
Ah, right.
Oh no, I was busy. I understand there can be meetings which are, it happens that, but
Yes.
are you keeping the other person informed?
Right.
Or are you taking excuse from where your current meeting is that I have an appointment for my next meeting at 7 o'clock? Can we connect later? But sometimes we take it for granted that, and it comes sometimes they go, oh, he's just, reporting to me. It's okay if they wait.
Got it.
I have seen managers saying, please block these four people's calendar for me. And I
Ah,
sometimes feel, and it also came when I was doing this whole assessment centers of people managers, where an individual contributor moves into the people manager role. They sometimes don't understand that there's a fine line. Okay.
yes.
It's, you're
Yes.
not, you're not high, you're not becoming their boss to tell them, oh, block my calendar.
Great.
But you are just responsible to help them perform better. So, that line of a manager from an individual contributor to a manager and the values being aligned to culture are very important for the culture to work in a hybrid space.
That's really well said. Great. So my next question will be, what role do middle managers play in sustaining or disrupting an intentional designed culture?
So sometimes it's not possible for the leaders to be present everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. And yeah, I know a lot of leaders have town halls which are done, to communicate culture and strategy. But what happens, there are too many messages sometimes in those town halls which are being communicated. And it then, for a person who's fresh out of college, or who's, fresh into an organization from another organization, for them to understand actually how this organization work is their immediate boss.
Great.
That is the person whom, you go to for everything. And then it's your colleagues who are your peers. But your
Yes.
peers know as much as you know, or maybe, a
Yeah.
10% here and there. But it's the manager,
Yeah.
So there are times when I sit with the managers and ask them, what is it that you spoke beyond operations today?
Okay.
Everyone has to talk operations. You can't escape Monday morning meetings. Some
Yes.
people dread, some people are very happy, depending on how the last week went. I
Yes.
know there was a sales team when, mobiles were just, the
Launched.
in thing, and we had a lot of players. I know, I was part of, I did my internship with one of the mobile companies, and, Monday mornings meeting, some were very excited
Okay.
because my target was 100, I did 150.
Okay. Okay.
So it was very, when I look back, seeing those Monday morning meetings, because maybe they've got an area which has a lot more people who have access, to money to get mobiles. And there is another person who's like, they gave me a lesser target of 70, but I was able to achieve only 40. But
Okay.
they don't understand why they gave a target of 70, because the area which he is covering can only not do more than 70.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So, and then after that, something which I really, liked was, the manager who was responsible for this team, after the Monday, because I was an intern, I used to make notes. There was no,
Okay.
granula to or read AI to, make notes. So we were the note
Okay.
takers, interns were the
Okay.
note takers to make minutes of the meeting.
Okay.
So I used to do minutes of the meeting, and, seeing this, I used to wonder, not understanding as a college girl, why are they giving him, only 50 to do, and why are they asking him to do 100?
Okay.
manager very beautifully, used to appreciate the person who's
Okay.
got 40
Okay.
because he understood that that 40 was not something which came easily.
Okay.
He had to spend time with maybe 120 people to get that 40.
Okay. Okay.
And the person who's got 150 had to spend time only with 200 people to get 150.
Okay.
And that was something when we say everyone should be, equal and equality are two different things. Both of them cannot be given a target of 100. He understood that.
Mm.
So, that I think is the role of manager in understanding the culture of the organization where, yeah, everyone needs to bring in so many numbers and revenue, but also understanding the challenges of, the employees and bridging in that understanding of culture to the employees. So, when you're thinking, that was the perfect example of a manager who understands that, growth is needed, but growth cannot be just by giving everyone the same target.
Nice. Nice. That's very well said. Very well put. So my next question reads a very interesting question. If a company realizes its culture has drifted away from its intended vision, where should it start and realign and rebuild? Very interesting.
I think they should first just stop where they are. And I think that's the most difficult part for a leader.
Okay.
See, when I don't know how many of have when we ride a cycle,
Ah,
we keep going front, and if we have
yes.
to go back, we have to first stop the cycle
Yes.
to go
You're right.
reverse.
Yes. Yes.
You cannot suddenly reverse.
Yes. You're right.
So I think that is the first thing, which is the most difficult thing to stop, understand, and acknowledge, agree that yes, this is not where I want to go.
Yeah.
Once that understanding comes in and that patience comes in, that yeah, this is not where I want to go, but this is where I want to go, then I think they will know what to do. But most difficult thing with the leaders, which in this fast world where everyone wants to achieve things like yesterday. And then they
Yes.
say this AI world, artificial intelligence can do everything. It is unless you stop, pause, you cannot take the right step. It's like I want to go to the airport and I have I've sat inside the cab and the cab is going to the railway station and I'm sitting quietly.
Okay. You'll have to react.
You have to ask the
Respond.
driver to stop. Stop. This is not where I want to go. This is where I want to go. If you can't go here, I need to get out of this cab. And there will be tough decisions which they will have to make where they might have to make leadership changes. They have to realign maybe, the strategy. There will be a lot of tough decisions which they will have to make. But that is the choice which they need to make.
That's really well said. So next is a very interesting question because as now people talk more about storytelling, I just want to ask you, how can storytelling be used as a tool to embed and transmit company culture?
See, stories. So if you see, stories are part of India. I'm sure it's part of other cultures, but just being in India, and stories make belief systems. So, we a lot of times we pick up Mahabharata and Gita, and then from there we bring in the stories. And so stories in the organizations become important because the story is giving a moral. And that moral is the culture of the organization.
Okay.
So if we say, 3M's culture is innovation, it just didn't happen.
Overnight. Yeah.
At every stage, they were told that, they came up with stories how this innovation actually helped someone.
Yeah.
Actually, this innovation, made a difference in someone's life. And that moment of fulfillment is what made them innovate the next thing.
Got it. Got it.
And if we say, okay, you innovate, but if you want, you innovate. And I know there was a whole thing of intrapreneurship which Infosys brought in.
Okay.
Where within the organizations, because everyone had ideas, everyone wanted to build something on their own, but finance is there, operations is there, and intrapreneurship was a very successful thing which came up then, where you can start your business being inside the organization.
Okay.
So that gave, there were people who really created wonderful things being an entrepreneur, where they got a space to do what they wanted to do. And, they didn't have to really be financially out of their, funding network. Safety net, if I have to say. They were not out of their safety net, but still they had the achievement and support that, I'm there to help you. So these stories helped people stay, and these stories are the best way to make people align to the culture.
Okay. Nice. I just want to ask you one more very interesting question. So I think India is really growing very well and a lot of startup companies. So to a startup leader, a startup a young person, can you just tell us how you could design the culture? What piece of advice you'll give? Because you do have a work experience of more than 20 plus years. So what will be your advice?
First, I don't want to give advice. I'll give you my input.
Sure.
See, India is becoming a huge startup
Yes.
culture, and it's understand why are you starting up?
Sure.
Is it just because everyone is getting into a startup phase? Let me start. And there I have seen people who are starting startups just to get funds, because government has announced huge funds for startups. If you know why, what is the problem you want to solve by having this startup? Okay, that will be the first point in you. That is the first story.
Yeah.
That is the first, culture. You knowing why am I starting this?
Yes.
What is the problem I'm solving by this? Or there are 10 anyway, 10 people doing this. I am also wanting to do because this is the, growing thing in the market. Good. Be clear with that. There is nothing wrong in, everyone cannot innovate.
Yes.
Some are traders. That's
Yes.
okay. But that clarity of why am I doing this, and communicating that, and if you're proud of that clarity, if you're able to communicate that clarity, I think then there is no going back. And yeah, being a startup, you know how funds work, how work-life balance works. Be clear on what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Once that happens, I think, building your culture is, you are the culture of the organization when you are creating that startup. So what is it that you are communicating? Everyone is going to look up to you. Not only your employees, even your clients are going to look up to. What is it that you're saying? Can I trust this person? Is this person there for money or trust? Is this person there for long term or short term? Everything what you say will build the culture of the organization.
Great. That is very well said. So my next question is another very interesting question. So how can employee feedback be effectively shaped and refine culture over time?
See, employee feedback is a very interesting thing, if I have to say.
Yes.
One, how are employee feedbacks taken? I've been part of really huge organization where this whole employee engagement surveys are sent.
Okay.
And nice fancy reports are being sent, because we pay some external organizations to do this employee engagement surveys, third parties, because otherwise it's not valid types. Good reports come in. But what happens is, sometimes in these huge organizations, when numbers are only seen, the essence of the feedbacks get lost. And there are some people, if you see in India, most of the people don't give honest feedbacks. Okay. And specifically, if it's about their boss and leaders, they would prefer leaving the organization than being able to communicate. Because certain places that has been, it's an Indian culture, I would say. It's not an organization
Yeah.
culture where we think if we give a feedback, we are not being respectful,
Okay.
because that's what our teachers have taught.
Exactly.
Just
From school.
listen to what I say. Na solradhu kelu.
Yes.
You know, don't question.
Yes.
That's what we've been taught in school. And if you're questioning, that means you're not respecting.
Yes. You become a
So
threat.
somewhere, Indian culture, because of the system, somewhere people think that, I'm not supposed to give. It will be a valid feedback. And sometimes I see managers take feedbacks very, very well. But the fear of giving feedback is something, if an organization is being able to have a transparent way of feedback,
Okay.
that is when it is going to be effective. Otherwise, huge surveys, very good fancy reports, and based on the reports, there are 4 initiatives which are, being designed and rolled. And when we go back to the next year's survey, the needle movement is really not there. So instead of getting lost in numbers, if people can go into the essence of the feedback and employees have the, space to be transparent and honest.
Okay.
And leaders being vulnerable, vulnerability is something which is a very big trait for a leader to have, where the leader is open to be vulnerable, to take this feedback, demonstrate leadership by action, taking the right course. If the feedback is valid, obviously, it's not like every feedback cannot be, actioned on. But if the feedback is something which is aligning
Genuine.
with the values, aligning with the culture, and there has been a miss, the leader being vulnerable and demonstrating by action is the best way of feedback can be given credit to.
Great. Very well said. Very well said. So just want to ask you one more question. Very interesting question. So what does accountability for culture look like at every level? Or you can even talk on perspective of the top management, because I think you've been working very closely with the top management. So just want accountability for culture look like at every level.
See, accountability for culture is, I would say similar to, when we discussed on, KPIs for culture, bottom
Okay.
line. It is not something which is measured, but it can only be seen through the impact it has on the department and the output of the department. So
Okay.
accountability at each level is I think, communication.
Okay.
And if there is something which, see, culture is not something which everyone understands the same way sometimes.
Okay.
And if people are not able to understand, they need to talk about it
Okay.
and not push people away. இது கூட புரியலையா?
Okay. Got it.
Because sometimes maybe I've been part of this organization for 10 years and I know, bribery is something which cannot be done.
Okay.
And someone comes from from an organization where it was necessary to bribe people to get
Okay.
a contract.
Okay.
To them it can be very different, and they can come and say,
Sure.
why is it so difficult for you to understand? No, if we are okay. So the culture organization, it's okay if we don't get a contract, but we will not bribe.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
And a new journey might not understand this because they have not been aligned to something like this. So accountability at every level is have those open communications and not dismiss what people are, coming up with. That is accountability at each level.
Great. I just want to ask you one thing. So how will culture have an impact on mental health of the employee?
Wow, that's a huge topic.
You're right. So how that will have a mental impact on his or her mental health?
It's a very, very, very important, question.
Yeah.
Because aligning and not aligning
Yeah.
with the culture of the organization
Okay.
can have a huge mental impact on the employees.
Okay.
Like, if I think honesty is the best thing, like I told in the, okay, let's take 3M, where innovation is, the culture. of the organization, and there is someone who thinks, you ask me to do what is my job, I will finish and go. Don't
Okay.
ask me to think beyond and innovate. I
Okay.
know 3M has it's in objectives of the leaders that so much of their time they need to spend on innovation. And for a person, this can be like you're disturbing my mental health
Ah, you're right.
because I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
So that is actually not aligning to the organization's culture.
Okay.
So mental health issues will come if employees don't align with the culture of the organization.
Okay.
Like I told, innovation is mandatory, and this employee thinks, you tell me what you want, I will do. Don't ask me to innovate.
Great. Okay. So, are you done or you can ask?
Yeah.
Great. So my next question is, as you were in the beginning of your career, as you are L&D partner, I just want to ask you one question about L&D. So in what ways can learning and development programs reinforce culture behaviors?
You see, a lot of these learning and development objectives come from the leaders.
Okay.
And it is, I think, very, very important. So I have run in a bank where there were like 500 team members in one of the business verticals.
Okay.
And the leader thought that attention to detail is a culture which everyone needs to have in this business unit.
Okay. Okay.
And we made all 500 people attend 25 by 25. Like it cannot be
Okay.
done in a day.
Okay.
And, we had the same trainer delivering it because
Okay.
we wanted the message to be
Made
standard,
clear. Yeah.
clear. So just imagine 500 people, each batch 25 people. We ran this for 1 year for this business unit because the leader thought that, yes, attention to detail is something which is very important to be part of this culture. So learning and development can be, I think it's a good start. But once the training is done, it has to be, functional on the floor. And that is where the accountability, responsibility of the managers come in. But yeah, learning and development really helps in building cultures where the leaders are clear. What is it that I want? And sometimes where employees don't know how to do it, L&D is there to support them.
Great. That's very well said. So one question, in what ways can recognition and reward system reinforce intended cultural values?
See, sometimes what I would say is some people don't do it for culture. They just become the culture, I think. They
Okay.
preach the culture. They are
Yes.
the, role models of the organizations. They don't have a leadership position.
Got it. Got it.
It's not always the leaders who are going and talking about culture. I have seen, people who've been 3 years or 4 years in the organization, but they're not like, the head of
Yes.
departments but then anyone who comes to them, they get to know about the organization.
Great.
And most of the managers, you want to know about our company, go talk to him.
Okay.
That is a recognition in itself for that employee. And yes, and I would say when you become that person, that recognition comes
Yes.
because everyone starts getting to know you. You
Great.
build your network because people are coming and talking to you. And when these two is done, you will grow.
Great.
So sometimes it is not like physically you are rewarded or recognized,
Okay.
but that for sure comes in the long run when an employee and I think it is so subtly done for culture that no one is giving an award. Okay, you were most culturally aligned in the organization, so I'm going to
Okay.
give you an award.
Okay.
But we all know why. Maybe you and I are delivering the same output of getting sort of 100 SIM cards. But if
Mm.
you are getting an award and I am not getting, everyone knows
Yes.
why. There is an
Yes.
alignment which is there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is what culture brings in.
That's really great. So we were talking about so many positive questions. I've asked you so many positive questions. So to put one question which I would like to ask on a very serious note. So what will be the long-term consequence of ignoring cultural misalignments in teams or leadership?
The company will not be there. If I have to just bluntly put,
Yeah.
okay, there are huge companies, and if they don't change,
Hmm.
okay, they will not be in existence.
Okay.
That is, you can't leave, culture. It's not luck by chance.
Yeah.
Luck by chance can happen. You can get a lottery once, twice by chance.
Yeah.
Right. So every time I get a lottery ticket, I can't, I've taken a 1 crore lottery ticket. Tomorrow I will get 1 crore. Does not happen every time.
Got it.
So not creating a conscious culture is like, thinking every time I buy a lottery ticket, I will win.
Okay. Okay.
So, you can't leave it to chance and luck and think, that, okay, everything will become fine. I
Okay.
don't have to define a culture. So that is what I would say. If you don't create a conscious culture, we will land.
Great. So just one final last question, because it's a very interesting question and out of the box, we'll have to answer this. So I just want to ask you, how can companies embed culture into performance management system without making it feel forced?
By just, defining the objectives accordingly.
Okay.
You know, the, objective of being time for every meeting.
Okay.
It's a simple objective. But if I think
Simple
my
like
culture
gesture.
is
Yeah.
punctuality, then it is part of my objectives. It is not
Okay.
forced.
Yes, you're right.
Right. So it has to be part of my objectives for it to be reflected in my performance.
Like,
Because if it is not part of my objective, okay, I'm late for 4 meetings. So what? Where is it being measured? Where is it being captured?
you're right.
Only things which is being captured and measured can get into, the performance metrics. And once it is in the performance metrics, everyone aligns.
Great.
When
Great.
it comes to the bottom line, whether it be of the company or my personal salary, everyone aligns.
Great. So do you have any final points to conclude?
So finally, which, I had written is sustainable success comes from a well-defined, evolving culture driven by intelligence. Okay, intelligence is very important, and communicated effectively through engagement and storytelling.
Okay. Okay.
And constant engagements, constant storytellings, and, using intelligence is very important for a successful, culture.
Great. I think you nailed it. We really like the way how you positioned yourself, and it was really nice. Very well said. So just, I think culture by design, building intentional workplaces. I think you have given us a lot of insights about it. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch up in the next edition. Thank you so much.
Thank you, William. Thank you for asking such interesting questions. I know, there were some questions which I had to think on the spot. You were very, very creative in your questioning. So thank you again for, Sapphire HR for having me here. Looking forward, for being a participant on your next few series. So thank you so much.
Thank you.